Story 1. This happened to me. I just started my new stockroom job at McDonald's, a monotonous grind of lifting boxes and stacking supplies. It was a routine job, exactly what I needed. I thought I knew what I was getting into, but I was terribly wrong. One Tuesday, while unpacking a delivery of chicken nuggets, I first noticed it. A crude, almost tribal symbol, scrawled with what looked like a thick black marker on the asterisk inside asterisk flap of an empty box. I dismissed it as a childish prank, some bored delivery driver's graffiti. A few days later, a similar symbol appeared. This time, it was on the inner lining of a box of beef patties. Identical in style, hidden from casual view. My first thought was a strange coincidence, but a faint unease began to settle in my stomach. Then came the dairy delivery. A milk carton, emptied and flattened, revealed yet another symbol on its inner surface. It wasn't random graffiti. These were consistent patterns, always on the asterisk inside asterisk of specific ingredient packaging. This wasn't a prank anymore. Over the next few weeks, I found more, on sauce sachets, fry bags, even the bread bun crates. Always hidden, always identical, always tied to specific ingredients. A chill ran down my spine. This felt deliberate, almost ritualistic. I started secretly documenting them. I'd take quick, blurry photos with my phone, noting the date, the ingredient, and where I found the symbol. My phone became a strange, secret journal of these unsettling discoveries. I noticed they corresponded to specific delivery dates or ingredient batches. Batch A would have the symbol, batch B wouldn't, then batch C would again. It was too precise to be random. It was like a dark inventory system, a sinister ledger. My paranoia grew with each new discovery. I felt a growing sense of dread, a knot tightening in my stomach. This wasn't just a weird quirk. It felt like a clandestine communication network operating right under our noses within the very fabric of our food supply. I started watching the delivery drivers more closely. Were they just truckers, or were they part of something larger? Their faces seemed normal, their movements routine, yet I couldn't shake the feeling they were hiding something in plain sight. I also observed other employees. Did they know? Was I being watched for noticing? Every glance, every casual conversation felt loaded with unspoken meaning. The friendly chatter of the kitchen now sounded like muffled secrets. Sleep became a luxury. My mind raced, trying to decipher the code. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, picturing the symbols, replaying every discovery. The innocent McDonald's logo now felt like a sinister mask. The mundane tasks of the stockroom transformed into a psychological battlefield. Every box I opened felt like a potential reveal, every stack a puzzle piece in a horrifying picture. The silence of the stockroom felt heavy, expectant. I started sketching the symbols in a small notebook, trying to find variations, patterns within patterns. It was an obsession. I felt like a detective in a horror film, slowly uncovering a truth too dark for the light of day. My coworkers noticed my change. "You look tired," one said. "Everything okay?" I'd force a smile, a mumbled excuse about late nights. How could I explain that I was unearthing a secret that could turn everyone's stomach? The symbols weren't just on the packaging. Sometimes they were subtly etched into the cardboard itself, almost like a watermark. This wasn't just pen and paper. This was integrated into the manufacturing, or so it seemed. I began to think about the journey of these ingredients. From the farm, to the processing plant, to the distribution center, then to our McDonald's. At what point were these symbols being added, and by whom? I even started checking the asterisk outside asterisk of boxes, just in case. Nothing. Always hidden, always requiring the box to be opened, the food removed. It was a communication meant for someone specific, someone handling the product directly. The consistency of the symbols was chilling. No variations in size, shape, or thickness. It suggested a single source or a highly coordinated network, a network that was very, very good at keeping its secrets. I started looking for other details, any smudges, fingerprints, anything that might give a clue. It felt like I was searching for ghosts, for evidence of something that shouldn't exist but clearly did. My mind conjured scenarios: a cult, a secret society, a criminal underworld using McDonald's as a front. The ideas were wild, but no wilder than the reality I was slowly piecing together. The golden arches began to feel like a gateway to something sinister. Then came the night I'll never forget. It was late, past closing, just me and the night manager. A new delivery of beef patties had just arrived. I was alone in the stockroom, the hum of the freezers my only company. I grabbed a fresh box of frozen beef patties, the plastic wrapping still cold to the touch. I sliced it open with my utility knife, the familiar scent of cardboard and frozen meat filling the air. My heart pounded with a mix of dread and morbid curiosity. And there it was, not the usual symbol. This one was different, more complex, with additional lines and a small, almost invisible dot within one of its loops. My breath hitched. This was a new message, a new layer to the code. But it wasn't just the symbol. Next to it, almost invisible against the brown cardboard, was a small, dried residue. It wasn't grease, wasn't food. It was a reddish-brown smear, like dried blood or something worse. My blood ran cold. I froze, my hand hovering over the box. Every fiber of my being screamed to drop it, to run. But a perverse curiosity, a need to know, kept me rooted. I cautiously reached out, my finger trembling as I touched the residue. It was dry, flaky, almost crystalline. It had no discernible smell, which was almost more unsettling. If it was blood, it was old. If it was something else I couldn't even begin to imagine, this was far beyond a prank. I quickly took a photo, my hands shaking so violently I almost dropped my phone. This was evidence, undeniable proof that something truly sinister was happening. The innocuous stockroom had become a crime scene. Back at home, I spread out all my notes, my blurry photos, the sketches. I connected the new symbol with the previous ones using a cryptic pattern I'd pieced together from their placement and frequency. It was a horrifying jigsaw puzzle. The pattern, when finally deciphered, pointed to a specific additive, not a food additive, not something on a label. The new symbol, combined with the residue, indicated something organic, something introduced to the meat itself, not in the factory. No, this wasn't happening in a sterile processing plant. This was happening here during delivery, during storage, in the dark corners of the supply chain at our very own McDonald's. Someone was tampering with the food, adding something unspeakable. The implications hit me like a physical blow. All those customers, all those families eating Big Macs, chicken nuggets, fries, they were consuming something horrific, something tainted. My stomach churned, a wave of nausea washing over me. I couldn't unsee it. The residue, the code, the silent operation, it all clicked into place with sickening clarity. The symbols weren't just communication, they were a ledger, tracking the distribution of this vile secret ingredient. Who was behind this and why? Was it profit, some sick experiment, or something far more depraved? The questions swirled, each more terrifying than the last. I felt a cold, creeping dread that I was already too deep. I thought about going to the police, but what would I say? I found weird symbols and a smudge in a McDonald's box. They'd think I was crazy, paranoid. I had no concrete proof, just a chilling suspicion and a few blurry photos. The weight of the secret was crushing. Every time I saw a McDonald's commercial, every time I smelled the familiar scent of fries, I felt a surge of revulsion. The innocence of the brand was shattered, replaced by a grotesque truth. I couldn't go back to work. The The thought of stepping into that stockroom again, of touching those boxes, of knowing what might be inside was unbearable. My job, once a simple routine, was now a gateway to horror. That night, I walked out. I didn't give notice, didn't collect my last paycheck. I just left, my uniform still in my car, my mind reeling. I never looked back, never returned to that McDonald's. The secret ingredient wasn't on the menu, and the thought still makes my stomach turn. I often wonder who continued the work, who found the symbols, or if they just became another part of the silent, horrifying system. I tried to forget, to move on, but every time I pass a McDonald's, the golden arches mock me. I see families going in, children laughing, oblivious, and I know, no asterisk, what might be lurking in their meals. The symbols are probably still there, etched into the hidden corners of countless packages moving through the supply chain, a silent, unspeakable truth. A dark pulse beating beneath the cheerful facade of fast food. I sometimes imagine another stockroom employee, just like me, discovering the first crude symbol. Will they dismiss it, or will they, too, stumble down the rabbit hole of this horrifying secret? The world keeps turning, oblivious. Billions served, billions of meals, each one a potential carrier of that unspeakable additive. The scale of it is truly mind-boggling, a silent pandemic of horror. I sometimes wonder about the drivers, the managers, the suppliers. Are they all unwitting participants, or are some of them complicit? The thought is enough to make me distrust every friendly face, every casual smile. The residue, I can still see it in my mind's eye, that dry, reddish-brown smear. It haunts my dreams, a constant reminder of what I touched, what I almost became a part of. I'll never forget that night. The specific beef patty delivery, why that batch? Was it a special order, a specific target? The precision of the operation was terrifying, a calculated act of malice hidden within a global corporation. I sometimes catch myself checking food labels, scrutinizing ingredients lists, even for things I buy at the grocery store. The trust is gone. The symbols broke something fundamental within me. The silence of the stockroom, once mundane, now echoes with the memory of discovery. The metallic clang of boxes, the hum of refrigeration units, all tainted by the sinister secret they held. It was a tomb of truth. I often think about the meaning of the symbols. What did they truly represent? A warning, a tally, a brand of ownership over the tainted product? The lack of answers is almost as horrifying as the discovery itself. My life changed irrevocably that night. The world isn't as safe, as innocent as I once believed. The golden arches, once a symbol of comfort, are now a monument to a silent, continuing horror. And every time I see a McDonald's, I know the code is still out there, the secret ingredient still being added, and the silent network still operating. It's a horror story that never truly ends, playing out in plain sight every single day. Story 2, my name is Arthur. For 15 years, the McDonald's graveyard shift was my sanctuary. That quiet hum, the smell of disinfectant, the solitude, it was my predictable, peaceful world. Until the night the offerings began and everything changed. I arrived every night at 11 p.m., the last customers hurrying out. The transition from bustling chaos to serene emptiness was always a comfort. I knew every tile, every creak, every shadow in that building. It was my second home. My routine was sacred: mop the floors, clean the restrooms, wipe every surface, restock napkins. The monotony was a meditative balm. I'd hum old tunes, lost in my work's rhythm, never expecting anything to disturb the perfect stillness of those early morning hours. I remember the exact night it started, though I dismissed it then. A Tuesday, 3 weeks before Christmas. I was just finishing the dining area, the floor still damp from my mop, the chairs all neatly flipped onto the tables. Everything was in its place. I walked past the counter, giving it one last look. That's when I saw it. A child's worn-out single shoe, small, scuffed, meticulously placed on the freshly cleaned counter facing me. My first thought was a forgotten item. I picked it up, expecting it to be cold, but it felt strangely warm. A chill ran down my spine despite the warmth. I just cleaned that spot. How could I have missed it? No one else was there. I put it in the lost and found. I dismissed it as a one-off, a strange anomaly, but the image of that tiny shoe, perfectly placed, lingered in my mind. A faint unease began to gnaw at the edges of my otherwise perfect routine, a seed of doubt planted. A week passed, largely uneventful. I almost forgot the shoe, attributing it to my imagination or a late customer's carelessness. My rational mind fought against the growing feeling that something was amiss. But then the feeling returned, much stronger. I was wiping down the drive-thru window counter, a task I always saved for last. The night was still, the air cold. I was completely alone, as always. I turned to grab a fresh cloth from my cleaning cart, and there it was, nestled amongst my supplies. Not a forgotten item this time. A faded antique locket resting on a pile of clean towels. It was tarnished silver, delicate and clearly very old, not something a customer would casually leave. And again, it appeared only after I'd thoroughly cleaned the area. My heart gave a definite jolt. I stared at the locket for a long moment, a knot forming in my stomach. It felt like a deliberate message, though I couldn't imagine from whom. I pocketed it, a strange sense of ownership settling over me. This was different. The occurrences became more frequent. A few nights later, a small, hand-carved wooden bird, smooth, worn, nestled amongst the freshly stacked napkins in the dining area dispenser. It looked like a child's toy. Each item was old, out of place, and appeared only after I'd meticulously cleaned the area. It was as if some unseen hand was waiting for me to finish, then placing the offering right where I'd just been. I started feeling watched. I tried to rationalize it. Kids playing pranks, maybe a coworker, but the graveyard shift was just me, and these items were too specific, too personal, too old. They didn't belong, they felt ancient. One night I found a small, tarnished brass thimble on the edge of the deep fryer just after I'd scrubbed it clean. It was tiny, clearly meant for a child's finger. My hands trembled as I picked it up. This was no prank. The feeling of being watched intensified. I'd catch glimpses of movement in my peripheral vision, a shadow too quick, a flicker where there should be none. I'd spin around, mop in hand, only to find the empty restaurant staring back. My routine, once a comfort, now felt like a stage. I was performing for an invisible audience, and they were leaving me gifts. Gifts that felt more like clues or perhaps pleas. My peaceful sanctuary was becoming a place of dread. Then came the drawing. A crumpled, yellowed piece of paper taped to the inside of a newly cleaned window. It depicted a small, two-story house with a swing set in the yard. My breath caught in my throat. It was eerily similar to my childhood home. Not identical, but the style, the details, it was too close to be a coincidence. How could anyone know that? How could anyone know *me*? This wasn't just a random offering anymore. A cold dread settled deep in my bones. These weren't just items, they were deeply personal and macabre arrangements. They suggested an unseen presence was not only watching my every move, but was also trying to communicate. The quiet hum of the machines, once soothing, now felt like a low, constant whisper. I started straining to hear something more, convinced there were voices just beyond the threshold of my hearing, always just out of reach. I began hearing faint whispers, like children's voices, soft and mournful, just when the restaurant was utterly silent. I'd freeze, my heart pounding, but the sounds would dissipate like smoke, leaving only the hum of the fridge. The items, when arranged, seemed to point towards specific areas: the locket near the drive-thru window, the bird near the main entrance, the thimble by specific older fixtures. They weren't random, they were trying to guide me. They were trying to communicate, not just leave things. A horrifying truth about the building's past, perhaps. The thought terrified me, but a morbid curiosity, an insistent pull, urged me to understand. The drawing of the house was taped to a window overlooking the back parking lot, precisely where the old, neglected dumpster sat. It felt like a riddle, a breadcrumb trail left by an invisible hand, leading me somewhere specific. The whispers were clearer now, not just faint sounds, but distinct, childlike murmurs. Play, hide, seek. I heard, my blood turning to ice, my grip tightening on the mop handle. They were speaking to me. I tried to ignore them, to focus on my work, but the voices persisted. A chorus of faint, sad sounds that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the building, growing slightly louder each night. I couldn't escape them. The items appeared with even greater frequency, always pointing. The locket was now near the playplace entrance, the shoe by the cashier's counter. Their placement was precise, deliberate. The thimble, I noticed, always appeared near the old, unused storage room in the back, a part of the building I rarely entered, filled with forgotten things. It had always given me a strange chill. The storage room, it was an older section, always cold, always dark. I had a strong aversion to it, a feeling of unease that I couldn't quite explain. Now I understood why. It was their focus. The breadcrumb trail was undeniable now. Every item, every whisper, every fleeting shadow pointed directly towards that dusty, forgotten room. It was their sanctuary, their final message. I knew what I had to do. They were leading me to their final resting place, or perhaps the site of their greatest fear. I felt a strange sense of duty, a need to understand and acknowledge them. Driven by terrifying curiosity and a deep sense of compassion, I approached the storage room door, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. This was it. The truth awaited inside. My days, once spent resting, were now consumed by digging through old town records, microfiche at the library, and dusty newspaper archives. I needed answers, a historical context for these haunting messages. The librarian, Mrs. Henderson, a sweet, elderly woman, recognized me from my inquiries. Looking into local history, Arthur, she'd ask, unaware of the chilling reason behind my sudden, desperate interest. My search led me down forgotten paths through decades of local lore. I found whispers of a tragic fire decades ago, a children's orphanage that once stood on this very spot. My blood ran cold. The St. Agnes Home for Children, the article read, dated 1968. A devastating blaze, the cause unknown, claiming the lives of several young residents. My stomach churned. This wasn't just a McDonald's. The pieces clicked into place with a sickening thud. The child's shoe, the locket, the wooden bird, the thimble, all items belonging to children. It all made horrifying sense, a puzzle solved. And the drawing of the house, it was likely the orphanage. The realization hit me with sickening force. These were not malevolent spirits, but lost children crying out for recognition. That night, arriving at work, the air felt heavier, colder. Every shadow seemed to stretch and twist. Every creak of the old building sounded like a mournful sigh. I wasn't alone. I never had been. As I began my routine, a sense of profound sadness washed over me. These were not malevolent spirits. They were lost children, trying to be remembered, trying to tell their story through the only means they had left. My sanctuary was now a memorial. My heart pounded in my chest as I reached for the storage room handle. The air grew perceptibly colder, like stepping into another dimension, a place where time had stopped. This was their threshold. I pushed the door open, revealing the dark, cavernous space. The smell of dust and something else, something acrid and old, filled my nostrils, and there, on the threshold, was the largest offering yet. A small, charred doll. Its porcelain face was cracked and blackened, one glass eye missing, its tiny dress singed. It lay carefully laid at the threshold of the storage room, a macabre sentinel. As I picked it up, a wave of profound sorrow washed over me, so intense it brought tears to my eyes. The room grew freezing, and a cold, mournful whisper filled the air, clear as day. "Help us, remember." Then I saw it, a fleeting, translucent shadow of a child no older than 5 or 6 by the back wall. It shimmered, a faint outline against the dusty shelves, then vanished as quickly as it appeared. I dropped the doll, scrambling backward. I fled the storage room, slamming the door shut, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I didn't finish my shift. I didn't clean another surface. I just grabbed my things and ran out into the pre-dawn silence, leaving everything behind. I never went back to that graveyard shift. I couldn't. The thought of stepping foot in that building again, knowing what lay beneath, what still lingered within its walls, was unbearable. I found another job, a day shift. The McDonald's still stands, bustling during the day, but I know what lies beneath and what still lingers within its walls. Sometimes, late at night, I drive by and swear I can see faint, childlike figures in the windows, forever bound to their silent request, "Remember us." And I do, every single day. Story 3. I'm Alex, a McDonald's cashier. Our regulars were like family. Mrs. Henderson, Mr. Peterson, I knew them. This happened to me. My shifts were comforting, filled with familiar faces. The rhythm of Harmony Creek life was simple, predictable. I cherished that community, sharing laughs, quick chats. These people weren't just customers, they were our town's heart. Mrs. Henderson, sweet elderly, always ordered filet-o-fish. She talked petunias. Her smile brightened my day. Mr. Peterson, retired mechanic, daily Big Mac. His booming laugh echoed, a genuinely good man I'll never forget. The Miller family, 2 boisterous kids, brightened Saturdays. Their order was chaotic, but their joy infectious. Then one Tuesday Mrs. Henderson came, order same, but her eyes, vacant, too still. I dismissed it. "Rough night?" I asked. She smiled faintly. "Just tired," her voice flat, not her usual. Days later Mr. Peterson, Big Mac, tried to laugh at my joke, but it was strained, forced, his boom gone. Everyone has off days, I thought, easy to rationalize. People get tired, McDonald's isn't a spa. But the feeling lingered. Mrs. Henderson's eyes, Mr. Peterson's laugh, small details pricked my subconscious. Changes were subtle, slight stiffness, a strange pause before responding, like a glitch in their patterns. Other regulars showed traits. Mr. Davies, postman, now had an unblinking stare taking his order. His voice lost warmth, a monotone thank you, not friendly banter. A shiver went down my spine. I started closer observation, from behind the counter. Smiles painted, eyes unnervingly still. Not just tiredness and absence, light in their eyes dimmed, replaced by cold, observing presence. Mrs. Henderson chewed her filet-o-fish, movements precise, mechanical, not savoring it. Mr. Peterson, animated usually, ate with robotic efficiency. No crumbs, just unsettling stillness. Feeling grew. These weren't them. Uncanny imitations, missing their soul. Not in my stomach, every regular entering. Who next? What horror would I witness? I tried talking to Sarah. Noticed anything odd about regulars? I asked, casual. She shrugged. Regulars, Alex, same, you're tired. Her dismissiveness stung, isolating me. Manager Mr. Jenkins laughed off concerns. Seeing things, Alex, vacation, nobody believed. But I knew flat voices, stiff movements, still eyes, undeniable pattern. Isolated, my observations dismissed as paranoia, yet altered regulars kept coming, chilling. They lingered longer, not just eating, but sitting, observing. Their eyes felt like surveillance. Mr. Davies finished coffee, stayed an hour, watching doors, watching us, unnerving vigil. Mrs. Henderson sat empty wrapper, gaze fixed on kitchen. What was she seeking? Intense gazes suggested learning. Mimicking, noting our routines, my fear deepened. Felt watched outside work. Mr. Peterson's car parked near my apartment. Coincidence. My paranoia wasn't just in my head. Real, tangible. Every glance, every lingering presence, a threat. Checked apartment locks repeatedly. Sleep a luxury. Regulars' faces haunted dreams. One evening, closing alone, restaurant silence pressed in. Fluorescent lights hummed, casting shadows. Wiping tables, I heard a creak. Heart pounded, spun around. Mr. Peterson by entrance. Mr. Peterson, we're closed, I stammered, whisper, his face blank, devoid of emotion. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stared. Vacant eyes fixed on me, icy in human intensity. Pure dread crawled my spine. This wasn't him, not the man I knew, something else entirely. Then a faint whisper, not from his lips but all around, chilling, multi-voiced chorus. We're almost ready, voices hissed, from walls air, echoed in my ears. Mr. Peterson's lips still, but his eyes glowed faintly, horrifying, knowing glint. I dropped cloth, stumbled back, realization they weren't changing, they were replacing. What are you? I whispered, tears. He took a slow step forward, blank face unchanging. Whispers grew louder. Soon, Alex, soon you will understand. 1,000 voices. Panic seized, I bolted, scrambling for back exit. Escape was all that mattered. Ran into cool night, didn't look back. Whispers faded but stayed in my mind. Quit next day, personal reasons. Coworkers relieved, thought I was losing it. Tried to warn them, explain, met blank stares, polite smiles they couldn't see. Week later, packing car to leave Harmony Creek, glanced out my window. Parked across street, familiar spot, Mr. Peterson's car. Inside, watching my home, his eyes. Horror wasn't over, it had just begun. Silent, unstoppable invasion, one Big Mac at a time. Story 4, I'm Mark, a foreman. Our crew renovated the old McDonald's. Routine job, I thought. Expecting dust, not ancient secrets. This happened to me. Never imagined unearthing something wrong. Blueprints seemed straightforward. Our task was simple, modernize this old place. Then came the back wall. Near the old playplace entrance, sealed for years, a flat, painted surface. Plans said it was solid, but the sledgehammer hit with a strange thud. Not solid brick, an unnatural resonance. My gut tightened. We paused, uneasy, definitely hollow. I checked blueprints, nothing, no room here. This was impossible. Curiosity overruled caution. We started prying at bricks. Mortar crumbled easily, eager to reveal what lay beyond. A small opening appeared. A sliver of impenetrable darkness. A cold, stale draft wafted out, carrying a unique, unsettling odor. It hit us immediately, making stomachs churn. The smell, damp earth, metallic rust, sickly sweet decay. It clung to the air. We exchanged nervous, disgusted glances. This was wrong. With a final heave, bricks crumbled inward. We broke through. There it was, a small, dark room hidden for decades. The air within was heavy. Flashlights cut the gloom. Forgotten McDonald's relics lay scattered. Old employee hats, a rusty fryer basket, a child's toy, all thick with dust. But mixed with familiar items were things that didn't belong. Crudely carved wooden figures, foot tall, stood upright, staring blankly, distorted forms. One figure, a grotesque parody of Ronald McDonald, its smile twisted in horror. Another, a mutated hamburglar. This was no prank, this was something else. They weren't toys, they were idols. Primitive, unsettling, clearly not for children. The air felt thicker, colder, radiating unnatural chill. I felt it. The silence was profound, broken only by our ragged breathing. No street noise, just oppressive, heavy quiet that swallowed all sound, pressing down. Then we saw the back wall, not brick but dark stone, covered in bizarre, deeply incised carvings. Not graffiti but ancient symbols swirling. Grotesque, distorted faces emerged from patterns, eyes wide, mouths agape in silent screams. They seemed to writhe in flickering light, watching us. The symbols pulsed with imperceptible energy. They felt wrong, blasphemous. A primal dread seeped into my bones. This wasn't a room, it was a prison. The air grew colder, a chill seeping into our marrow. An oppressive silence descended, heavier, suffocating. It was a tangible pressure, crushing us. Profound unease settled. Headaches started immediately, a dull throb intensifying. This wasn't just physical discomfort, it was psychological, attacking us. We backed out slowly, wordlessly. Headaches receded outside, but the dread lingered, a cold knot in my stomach. It clung to us like a shroud. After that day, everything changed. Strange things happened around the site. Small, inexplicable occurrences at first, easy to dismiss, but they grew. Tools vanished, reappearing minutes later in impossible places. A hammer on a ceiling beam, a wrench in a sealed paint can. It was unnerving. We'd blame each other, then laugh hollowly. We knew it wasn't us. It felt like a childish prank, but with malice, a subtle taunt. Whispers, they echoed in empty hallways when no one was around. Faint, indistinct, just beyond hearing. Sometimes they sounded like our names. We'd spin around, heart pounding, finding nothing, just the echoing silence. The whispers came from everywhere and nowhere, disembodied, chilling. Shadows, they moved in our peripheral vision, not natural light but fleeting shapes darting away the moment we focused, always just out of sight. It was like the building itself was alive, watching us playing games. The air grew heavier, a constant pressure. Sleep became a luxury, plagued by nightmares. Old man Jenkins, a seasoned veteran, started looking gaunt, eyes hollow. He'd always been a rock, but this place was truly getting to him. He'd mutter about bad vibes and hungry places. We tried to joke, but his eyes held a truth we didn't want to acknowledge. He was terrified. One morning, Jenkins didn't show up. I called. His voice trembled. "I'm out, Mark," he whispered. "That room ain't right. I'm not going back." "It's got a hunger, Mark," he cracked. "It latched onto something. It's calling for something to feed it." He hung up before I could reply. His words echoed, a hunger, the metallic smell, distorted carvings. It clicked. We hadn't just found a room, we'd awakened something ancient, malevolent. A terrible curiosity mixed with dread consumed me. I knew I shouldn't, but an irresistible pull drew me back, like a moth to a flame, I suppose. I told the crew I needed to check measurements after hours. A lie. I waited until everyone left. The site plunged into deep silence. I was alone. Armed with my flashlight and a heavy pry bar, I returned to the sealed room. My heart hammered, a frantic drumbeat in the oppressive quiet. The plywood covering felt colder. I removed it, revealing crude brickwork. Each brick pulsed faintly with dark energy. I was a fool for coming back. I started prying again, slower, deliberate. The metallic smell was stronger, the cold and icy grip numbing my fingers. I was a terrible fool. Finally, another opening. I shone my flashlight inside. The carvings on the back wall seemed to writhe, faces contorting, silent screams almost audible. The wooden figures stood sentinel, their vacant eyes fixed on me. They seemed closer, or maybe my mind played tricks. I felt profoundly watched. I stepped closer, hands shaking. A spiraling vortex with a central eye drew me in. It hummed with dark, magnetic energy. I reached out, compelled. My fingertips brushed the cold stone. A jolt, an electric current of pure ice surged through my arm. Then a whisper, not in my ears but my mind. It promised an ancient, unspeakable hunger, a presence disturbed, now fully awake, seeking release. Power, knowledge at a soul-shattering cost, I understood. Terrified, I scrambled backward, pry bar clattering. The hunger was real, the entity was real. I had to bury it, seal it forever. This was an exorcism. I gathered the remaining crew next morning. I didn't tell them everything, just enough to convey gravity. We didn't report it. Who would believe us? We spent days working relentlessly, driven by shared horror. We sealed that room with reinforced concrete and steel, layer after layer, behind a new wall. We pretended it was a structural necessity, a new load-bearing wall. Fabricated reports, false inspections. Every swing, every bag of cement, an act of desperate concealment. We never spoke of what we found, not to each other, not to our families. It became our shared secret, a silent pact of terror. The room was gone, we hoped. The McDonald's reopened, bright and cheerful, golden arches shining. Families flocked in, but I never set foot inside again. I just couldn't. Sometimes, late at night, I drive past. I wonder if it's truly gone or if that ancient hunger still waits just behind the drive-thru wall, quietly influencing the world. Waiting for someone new to stumble upon its impossible prison. This happened to me. I'll never forget it. The impossible room and its hunger is still there. The hunger waits. I feel it sometimes. A subtle pull, a faint echo, it's always there, just behind the wall, always. This is my true horror story. Story 5. Lily's 6th birthday party at McDonald's was everything a little girl could wish for. The smell of fries, the bright colors, and all her friends. I remember her pure joy, a moment I'll never forget. Her eyes lit up when the manager announced Ronald McDonald's arrival. The kids screamed with delight, rushing to greet him. It was the highlight of the party, a classic childhood dream. Ronald burst through the kitchen doors, arms outstretched. The iconic red and yellow, the big shoes, the wide smile, he was everything they expected. Laughter filled the air. He started high-fiving the kids, his movements a bit clumsy but energetic. Lily, my sweet Lily, was right in the front, her face a picture of absolute happiness, completely captivated. Parents snapped photos, capturing the magic. I felt a surge of warmth, seeing Lily so happy. It was a perfect birthday, a memory to cherish forever, I thought. But then, a flicker of something unsettling. Ronald's movements seemed stiff, almost robotic. His arm extended a little too straight, his head tilted unnaturally. I brushed it off. His painted smile, usually so jovial, seemed stretched, frozen. It was too wide, too perfect, lacking any genuine warmth. I told myself it was just an inexperienced employee inside. The way he walked, too, was odd. A jerky, almost stop-motion quality to his steps, like a malfunctioning animatronic, not a person. I tried to shake off the growing unease. Perhaps the costume was old or the person was new. This happened to me and I kept rationalizing. It had to be just a costume issue, nothing more, right? Ronald continued to entertain, but my eyes were fixed on him. Each move, each gesture felt just a little bit wrong. The cheerfulness of the party began to dim for me. Then I noticed it. Ronald's attention wasn't general anymore. It was focused exclusively on Lily. He seemed to gravitate towards her, subtly, constantly. His movements, which had been clumsy, now became deliberate, less like a new employee, more like a predator. He was always in her line of sight, always close. Other children would approach, but Ronald would gently, almost imperceptibly, steer back towards Lily. A chilling, inexplicable pattern emerged. My stomach clenched. Lily, still innocent, thought Ronald was just being extra friendly. She'd giggle, completely unaware of the shift in his focus or the growing dread in my heart. His movements weren't jerky anymore when it came to Lily. They were smooth, almost fluid, a graceful, unsettling dance around her. It was too precise. The fixed smile felt less like a costume and more like a permanent, predatory grin. It never wavered, never softened, just that wide, empty rictus. I tried to catch the eye of another parent, but they were all distracted, enjoying the party. I felt isolated in my growing terror, watching Ronald. This happened to me. I started moving closer to Lily, trying to subtly interpose myself. But Ronald was always one step ahead, always finding a way back to her. The air around him felt cold, even in the warm, bustling restaurant. An unnatural chill that seemed to emanate directly from the costume. It was a physical sensation. I knew deep down this wasn't an employee, this wasn't a costume. Something was wrong, something profoundly, terrifyingly wrong. My heart pounded. Lily decided to go into the play place, the colorful maze of tubes and slides. My immediate instinct was to stop her, but she was already gone, laughing. Before I could react, Ronald followed. He moved with an impossible speed, slipping into the play place after her. The entrance seemed to swallow him whole. I rushed to the viewing window, my breath catching in my throat. I saw them moving through the plastic tunnels. Ronald was directly behind Lily. He wasn't just following, he was mirroring her. Every turn, every crawl, every slide, as if he was her shadow, a monstrous, silent echo. My blood ran cold. The fixed smile was still there, unwavering. Even in the dim light of the play place, it glowed, a beacon of pure, unadulterated menace. It was locked on Lily. I started shouting Lily's name, my voice cracking. She didn't hear me, lost in her game. The other parents still hadn't noticed, absorbed in their conversations. I slammed my hand on the plastic, trying to get their attention. Ronald paused, his head turning slowly towards me. His costume eyes, though empty, felt like they pierced me. There was no recognition, no human response, just that slow, deliberate turn, then back to Lily. It was like looking into a void, a chilling, indifferent emptiness. I clawed at the play place entrance, trying to force my way in. It was too small, designed for children. Panic surged, a cold wave washing over me. Finally, I managed to wriggle through, scraping my knees. I crawled desperately, calling Lily's name, the plastic tunnels echoing my fear. I had to reach her. I found Lily in a small, enclosed space, giggling. Ronald was there, hovering over her. His hand was on her arm, a surprisingly firm, chilling grip. "Lily, let go of her," I screamed, pushing Ronald. He didn't budge. His grip on Lily remained unyielding, almost fused. He felt like solid rock. Lily looked up at me, her smile fading as she sensed my fear. She was starting to get scared, her innocent joy finally shattered by the tension. Ronald's head turned slowly to me. Those empty costume eyes seemed to stare through me into something beyond. No, not through me, at me, with intent. His grip on Lily's arm tightened further. I felt the cold emanating from him, a deep, pervasive chill. It was freezing, even through the thick costume fabric. Then I saw it, a glitch. His arm, holding Lily, contorted. It twisted at an impossible angle, bending unnaturally. A sickening, silent snap. It wasn't human, it couldn't be. Pure, primal terror seized me. Without thinking, fueled by a mother's instinct, I grabbed his head, pulling with all my might. The head came off with a sickening pop, a sound too loud in the confined space. I stumbled backward, clutching it, my heart hammering like a drum. But the body remained standing, a dark, swirling void where the neck should be. It still held Lily, its empty form swaying slightly, still impossibly upright. And then a sound, a guttural, rasping whisper emanating from the empty neck hole, from the void itself. Lily, it breathed, chilling me to my core. The costume's other arm, free now, slowly extended towards Lily, its fingers twitching. It wanted her. This thing, this empty suit, wanted my daughter. I grabbed Lily, pulling her away with a strength I didn't know I possessed. We scrambled out of the play place, leaving the horror behind, screaming. We ran through the McDonald's, past the confused parents, out into the bright afternoon. I didn't stop until we were safe in the car, Lily sobbing beside me. I called the police, McDonald's corporate. They denied everything. Just a prank, they said. An employee playing a joke. They thought I was crazy. No one believed me. How could they? A headless mascot, a swirling void, a whispered name. It sounded insane, but I knew what I saw. This happened to me. Lily still has nightmares. She wakes up screaming, repeating the name. Ronald, my heart breaks every time. The memory is burned into my soul. I'll never forget that day. The cold, the unnatural movements, the empty void. It wasn't just a costume. It was something else, something terrifying. Every time I pass a McDonald's, I get a cold shiver. The bright colors, the familiar arches, they no longer represent joy. Only dread, only the knowledge. It wanted Lily. I saved her that day, but the thought lingers. What was it? Where did it come from? And most terrifyingly, where did it go? The McDonald's mascot's glitch, a nightmare that began in a children's party, and an unsettling knowledge that it could still be out there, waiting for Lily.